Well, we're here with Mary Amy, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and how she got into light work, Reiki, into extraterrestrials, and other things. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mary Amy. I grew up in Westchester, New York, not far from Manhattan. And I had a near-death experience at a really young age. I was 2.5, and I guess that's when I found the light. And that's when I kind of looked beyond what everyone else deems normal. So I was always aware I must experience things in person and make my decisions based that way. I was just basically regular type of person going through my life, and I little by little got awakened. Different things happened. I guess trauma can do that, or a mystical experience. And 2013, I had an awakening, and I started to kind of go towards my intuitive abilities. I'm an empath. All of us have intuition. All of us have intuitive abilities. It's whether or not we practice them. And so I started practicing them. And I went on and I wrote a book, The White Life Prophecies, and I became an intuitive coach and a holistic coach and a Reiki master. And so I worked with energy and basically taking the darkness and negativity out of someone internally and around them in their energy field, and brought light in, divine light. I'm all about divine light, coming from the heavens. And I've been in the last few years, more or less, basically doing hosting and speaking about topics, and then also intertwining my healing suggestions.
Can we talk about the near-death experience?
Absolutely, anything you'd like.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, so I was 2.5, and I had someone basically try to kill me, and so I was on my last breath. I was not breathing, and the person stopped. But before that happened, before they stopped, I was on my way to the other side, I guess, because I couldn't breathe. And I saw light, and I believe I must have been greeted by angels, because I have this fixation and this kind of obsession about angels, but I've always known they're around me. And I've always felt a presence around me. And I know we have, in this space, it's not empty. There's frequencies, there's energies going on in space, regardless if there's an object here, here's my couch, here's my painting. And I always have known that there's some other presence around me. So I had this very strong spiritual kind of side of me. I think also I cheated death. And then I also cheated death. I almost drowned when I was 7. So there you go.
Wow.
So I plan on living a very long time.
These experience when people have a near-death experience. I've talked about this before in the other project. I'm not sure. Do you think that a near-death experience, the things you see and the things you experience while it happens, are the same as the ones when you're really dead? Because we talked about in the other podcast, we talked about what happens when you're dead, after you died. And people talked about their near-death experiences, but I have a little bit of a problem with it. Because a near-death experience, you're close to death, but you're not dead. Do you think these experiences shows what happens after you died? But because your brain is still functioning?
Well, I think you're going to the whole physical part, when there's a whole other side of us that you're not mentioning, about the spiritual aspect of us, and we're a spirit within us. So, they also say people come up out of their bodies and can see. That's not I don't know if that's technically their brain. They also say when people are in comas, they are still aware of what's going on, but or if their brains dead, are they still understanding what's going on? I can only speak from myself and what's happened to me, and I always say that. That's one thing I say, that I'm giving you a personal experience that happened to me. Unless you've gone through it, I don't know if you would believe it. It's like a lot of things. I don't go through it. I wouldn't maybe believe it either. However, I do know that for me, it definitely, there was some kind of transition. There was something there, and I carried it through my whole life. And I was just, a baby, basically 2.5. There was something that I saw that wasn't here in this physical reality. It was another place, another location, I guess. So was I about to, legitimately die? Maybe. And I chose not to. I think that we can choose when we want to die as well. That's something I believe we can decide. Our mind is very powerful. Our thoughts are very powerful. People have come back from really horrible experiences, and somehow they've lived, because there's a power within you. We all have a very strong power within us that we can pull up from our bottom, from our root chakra. We can pull it up. And in some situation, you're like, I'm never going to make it through this. You can. The power of your mind, your spirit, your body, all of it combined, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you afraid of dying?
No, not at all. I'm not afraid of dying, because I think it would be just a beautiful, the other side is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not ready to. It's not.
Yes.
I have so much I want to do. I'm not ready to do that. That's another location,
Mm-hmm.
other realm. Not yet.
I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of the way I'm going to die, maybe. Yeah.
Wait.
I hear people talk about, like you said, the other side is beautiful and it's all great and so. But how can you be so sure?
I know. I have a knowing. I know this. I know it's beautiful. I've been touched by God. I've God's touched my soul. It's not like any other feeling. It's this pure feeling. The other side is something that you can't even imagine. It's nothing that you've ever experienced here. We live here on this earth in very low vibration. It's very dense here. It's very dark. It's negative. It's not beautiful. It's crisis. It's pain. It's trauma. The other side is it's just magnificent.
Mm.
I know that.
Yeah.
Do you believe in heaven and hell?
Absolutely. I don't know if you want to say it's hell. I mean, when they say hell, what is that exactly? I think there is a form, some place, there's something. I don't know, want to know what, I don't know if it's an energy you can attach yourself to, but there's definitely very dark forces. We've been going through spiritual war. We've been going through a very powerful spiritual war, and there's been Lucifer, Satan, the devil, whatever you want to call it, dark forces really entertaining, taking over the planet, continuing to dominate the earth.
Mm.
I don't really believe in heaven and hell. I believe I don't focus on death and dying. I try not to think about it too much. I try to make the best out of my life while I'm alive. And I think you can create your own personal hell while you're alive. You can live in your own personal hell while you're alive. Or if you make your life bad with drugs and alcohol and get yourself into bad situations, or you can make your life good. So I don't believe there is a hell, like maybe the Bible tells us.
Or reincarnation.
Or
Another
reincarnation,
big.
yeah.
I was gonna say, my mother had an interesting a friend that had her experience with like an angel. I guess her daughter, I think it was 3 years old. They have a pool, whatever, and she fell in, and I guess her mother had like a signal from something to come outside and look for her daughter, and found her in the bottom of the pool. and got her out and revived her. But she had this saying that something in the back of her head said, you need to go out there right now and find your daughter. And then she did and saved her. But she had, I guess the child had brain damage after being in the water for so long. This woman dedicated her life to, she quit her job and I think opened up a shop, like an angel shop. And like she made like wooden angels just to kind of dedicate what she went through and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That's my only story that I know about angels really impacted someone's life enough to change what they're doing, you know.
That gave me goosebumps, and that's horrible that the child became brain dead, and obviously that really impacted her to go on and you know, like you just said, dedicate her life. And I think that, you know, I believe there's angels that come from the heavens to earth. There's tens of thousands upon millions. There's 9 ranks of angels. They're benevolent. They're celestial beings of light. Maybe you see a little spark over the corner of your eye. You might encounter some kind of signs of angels in your life. It might be simply just a feather or numbers, recurring numbers, you know, like 222, 444, 777.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think angels do guide us, protect us, and they're warriors. I, you know, I have different ways that I can tune in. And so one is through clairvoyance through my third eye. And so for the last few years, I saw Archangel Michael to my right here to protect me. He's a warrior. And there are archangels, you know, in our physical reality, whether we realize it or not, because our eyes can only see 1% of what's going on out in the physical reality. And because of the way light is, and we are born with 2 guardian angels. You can ask for angels to come into your life and welcome them in. And if you know, if you are in a situation, you might get a whisper or some message dropped into your head from an angel.
So these angels are there for us, even if we don't believe in them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much you're going to listen, though, if you're not believing in anything, if you're shut down.
But we could talk about other somewhat angels of ancient times, like the ancient astronauts.
Anunnaki?
Anunnaki, yeah. Those two, like
Those are the bad guys, aren't they?
the Anunnaki. Oh yeah, the slave. Well, I guess that's the story that they came here from their planet that was deteriorating of materials like gold and
They want
other
gold. They're
materials.
all about
Yeah.
getting me the gold.
So they came here to Earth and they saw there was tons of gold, but they didn't have all the manpower to mine it all. And they found Homo erectus that was here on Earth. And they're like, huh, maybe we could slap our DNA into it, make it a slave race, and have them mine all the gold for us. And then, yeah, the depictions of the ancient Samaritans actually, you know, depicted the Anunnaki were pretty impressive. Of actually the Anunnaki holding lions like little kittens and shit like that. And yeah, pretty gnarly. But again, a lot of the stories in the Bible, too, I relate to ancient astronauts just because the physical descriptions of like these beings interacting with humans,
Mm-hmm.
like angels mating with humans too, and
Mm-hmm.
creating giants, and
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they even have somewhat of a human emotions like jealousy to, I don't know, just I just love the stories that the interaction with the people physical.
Well, you know, and then you hear, you know, a personal experience or someone who's had some kind of story related. It makes it more real and makes it more possible, I guess. You mentioned earlier, have I had any experiences with extraterrestrials
Yeah.
or UFO sightings? I've not had a UFO sighting, except when I am, I don't know if you know about light codes, you know, as you ascend, as you awaken from the matrix, you go through a series of ascension symptoms, which might be ringing in either of your ears. You know, you might feel, you know, your personality is changing, you lose your identity. And one of the symptoms is these light codes, which are ancient healing codes. And it's about your DNA coming online. You have an actual authentic blueprint within you. And as you awaken, you accept it. Like everything's about accepting. The more you accept, then the more you can basically experience. You know, if you put it out there, you'd be surprised how much you can manifest. And I've been receiving light codes for the last year plus, maybe a year or 4 months. And it started out, I would see basically what happened to me, Dustin and Daniel, that I would be either going to sleep. So it would be, you know, I'd close my eyes, or I'd be just the moments I'd be waking up. And I would receive these visuals. And it started out very primitive. I had initially, I'd see like, it would look like a little emoji spaceship, but everything was moving across my view. So it'd be like your eyes are closed and it's moving across your view. And then little, you know, look like little gray aliens with green eyes, and they'd be floating around and moving around. Start out very primitive. And then as time went on, and I guess it was more of me accepting it. At first I thought, this is bizarre. I don't even know what's going on here. Now I've entered a whole other, I don't know what this is going on. Like I thought it's so strange and mysterious. And then it went on to getting very detailed, and I had a few different races actually show up and like walk me through where they patted me on the back. And from what I surmise, it was definitely Palladians, Arcturians, and Andromedans. I don't know if you know anything about these. And grays. So there's some good grays and some bad grays. I encountered a whole bunch of grays, and there was one that seemed very masculine, a leader, and he had very large green eyes. Now it's like very interesting when we see pictures of extraterrestrials, we think, oh, you know, they all look alike. But when you start to have these experiences with many different species and many different ones from a certain, like, let's say it's all Palladians, they don't all look alike. There's something about them, just like we don't look alike. Well, I had this one gray, I called him the green-eyed gray, and he had very brilliant green eyes. And their communication, except for one time, is all telepathic. So they're dropping information in. Basically, they come in peace. There's nothing harmful. Most of them. I did get some that weren't. And I guess it was more or less, I don't know. I can't really figure out if it was in real time this information came to me, or it was already within my system, like you said, reincarnation. If I was incarnated from, like I say, a star family, a star, you know, another star, was I Palladian? You know, so I had these experiences. It went on for almost every night for months and months. I wrote them all down. I have every single one written down. And then it kind of tapered off, and it would stop, and then they would come back again. And I did see some reptilians. There were ones that came, and they were very threatening, like villainish, and different ones. I think draconian, reptilian, from what we basically can compare to what we've seen in the, you know, in the magazines or the books or wherever online. That's what I'm comparing it to. I did have experiences being on ships with Palladians, 2 times with not such good extraterrestrials, like the bad guys.
Since you talked about a possible reincarnation from a star family, do you think our roots as humans are here on Earth?
I don't know if all of them are. Absolutely not. Some maybe. I mean, we can't really go by history books, because civilization has been terminated so many times and it's been rewritten. I mean, you don't know what really happened. We are kind of in the dark. So I would say, if you're just questioning it, absolutely, we're not all from here. I mean, what you mentioned about angels, one of you mentioned about angels, you know, breeding with, I don't know, humans, making giants. I had dreams with giants before too, a couple. I actually had dreams, and then I also had light codes. I had psychic attacks. A few, you know, but then some dreams way back when, 2015, where I was, it looked like I was somewhere else because I was traveling down this very wide road. And in front of, we were all going in one direction. In front of me was a giant. And then there was a woman that had long red hair and it was very Renaissance looking. And we were all traveling in this direction, straight ahead. I don't know. I don't know what I'm tapping into half the time. I'm writing it down and then maybe the information kind of flows and then, I piece it together, and it depends on how long I stay in that kind of, I guess, realm, or that, I don't know what you want to call it, environment.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the dreams where giants were involved?
Sure. So, I mean, I had a dream. This is kind of on the dark side. I don't know if you've ever had a psychic attack. So a psychic attack can be, mind control. It can be intentional. Someone, if they choose to. I've learned a lot about ESP in the last few months because I talk about it a lot on my show, and telepathy. And I realized that you can do something like you can have someone's picture in front of you, and you can know their name, and you can know where they live, and you can know when they're going to sleep. And then you can, let's say they go to sleep at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can start saying their name over and over again. You can look at their picture and you can tell them something that they should do. Like, get up right now and go to your refrigerator and eat something at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you can do this over and over again. This is something that is known. I've read a lot of ESP books since the 1960s. There's some famous guys who are doing it, which they've now no longer published. You have to find them in like thrift bookshops. But to get back to my dream, I have received some of these psychic attacks, and I don't know if it's who's doing it. I don't know who's operating it, but it's definitely intentionally meant for me. And I had 3 nights in a row that I had these dreams a few weeks ago, where for example, I was actually in my bedroom, and this door opened up, and this man, this giant, he was absolutely a giant. He had to be over 6'7", maybe he was 7 feet tall. It was very strange, wearing literally gray, no shirt, a gray pair of men's shorts, and he had this gray hair to here. I still remember the look on his face, this dumbfounded look. And it was almost like, was he a clone? Was he, I don't know what he was, a black hat? And he came in, and then he was a giant, and he was threatening me. And so I went to the window and I started tapping it like this. And I was like, I can't get through this class. I remember doing that. That was one night. And then another night, a giant came through, same thing, except it was in the form. My father passed away 18 years ago in form of my father, and he was also a giant. So I know that this was intentional. Now, on the happy side, I did have a dream months ago with a giant, and he seemed like a great guy. So I don't know. I mean, that's, it's difficult in the astral realm. Energies can come through to you if you're open. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know who's sending it, if it's intentional or not. And I'm a light being. I'm someone who's all about healing. Those out there that are really professing darkness, and there are those out there, there's demons and there's witches, and they maybe are humans, or there may be some other entity. Are they an AI? Are they an extraterrestrial? And they are very advanced. We're not that advanced. We've been crushed. And so they can send stuff at you if you're kind of doing things like I am, that are basically professing light, speaking of angels, talking about divine intervention. They don't want my types on the planet right now.
Dreams are very interesting, and I think dreams are a piece of the puzzle. In fact, I had a dream a few months ago. I had a crazy dream where I was dreaming about 2 soldiers, and they shot at each other. And at one point in the dream, I was the one who was hit by a bullet, and he was hit in the armpit.
Wow.
He died. And I really could feel the pain in this dream. It was a very strange dream. And at another point in the dream, I was the one who shot. So I saw from both guys' eyes. And I didn't see myself in the dream. I see it from the eyes of these dudes. And I, at one time, like I said, I was the one who got shot, and and another time I was the one who shot. A few weeks after the dream, the war in the Ukraine started.
It was a
Dream,
premonition,
yeah, sometimes dreams
premonition dream.
mean something.
I
Dreams,
was either going to say that or it was an past life experience. You know, maybe it was something from your past life.
yeah, the soldiers looked pretty modern, and their weapons also looked pretty modern. So I think maybe it had something to do with what happened afterwards. It was crazy. Dreams are very scary sometimes, also, but they want to tell us something. I think dreams, we have dreams, we have normal dreams, like when we had a bad day or a long day. So we dream about stuff that we did, but then we have some strange dreams. And I think dreams maybe are a way to have a look through the matrix, maybe, or into another dimension or a parallel universe. It's a very interesting thought. Sometimes we dream. I had a dream about my neighbor, my wife, my work colleague, but the roles were turned. So my wife was not my wife and my neighbor was not my neighbor, but it felt real, like if it was real. And I think dreams like this mean something. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's a look into a parallel universe or something like that, or another dimension. I don't know. I like the
Yeah.
idea of parallel universes or multiple universes. We
I
don't
agree.
know.
I agree. I actually wrote a dream journal, and you can find it on Amazon, My Dream Journal, a personal diary of messages, signs, and symbols to guide you. And it has a little introduction, and it talks about dream work and talks about paying attention to your dreams and writing them down. Then there's room for 100 descriptions. And so I always suggest to write down the description. How did you feel? And the date. And there are moments in dreams that you sense it's really dangerous and you want to run away and wake up. But sometimes those moments are the moments that you should pay attention and stay there and say, I'm going to stay there and see what happens. For many years, I would be chased in my dreams. And then I realized how important dreams were. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to tonight, when I go to sleep, I'm going to say, I'm not going to run away. And I didn't. And it changed everything for me. It was like I unblocked something within me.
I find it interesting too that we have like thousands of dreams in one night and we can only remember one, or we can actually steer our dreams too, in a sense. Or like the fact that sleep is the cousin of death. And is that like, does that kind of show maybe where our brain goes when we're dead? It's like a dreamland. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's another consciousness when we're
Mm-hmm.
sleeping. We're
Mm-hmm.
very, very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I say before you go to sleep, if you don't want to have nightmares or be psychically attacked, be in love when you go to sleep. Think of love, because we all have this silver cord that's attached to our chakras, and you're very vulnerable, and things can attach itself to you when you're sleeping. And like I said, be psychically attacked. So I always say, be in love, because evil loves low vibrational emotions like hate and fear and loneliness and shame. And if you're in high vibration like love, evil cannot get you.
The psychic attacks, is that in the realm of like gang stalking and other, this is like brain weapons that the military has that they use on enemies? That's what I've heard from others in other conspiracy theories. Yeah, is that more that the gang stalking?
Well, I know that the government spent many years, if they don't still have one of their black projects being about mind control and brainwashing. And they do have energetic weapons that they've utilized, vibrational weapons. And I don't know if they've it's gotten to a place where they can do it through a computer or to the masses. I mean, you mentioned television at one point. You know, we can sit there and the news is all paid programming. It's the same thing. It's over and over, repetitive. And our psychic attacks, some kind of government project.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. That's what they've done. And that's how they control the masses. That's how they, you know, keep you in check. And it's not positive, that's for sure. I do believe, though, that we're kind of leaving all of that. There's so much light coming onto the earth with the solar flares. And, you know, we are actually bringing more light into our systems, and all of the darkness is being revealed. So there's a lot of truths that are going to kind of come out and disclosures. And there are extraterrestrials, and we are going to be living with ETs at some point, and we will all see UFOs. I mean, last weekend alone, go figure, some MSN, I was in a restaurant bar and some mainstream medias were actually speaking about UFOs, and they weren't doing a chuckle like you mentioned. They weren't doing a chuckle. They were literally seriously speaking about it, because there must be something that we don't know if they're actually acknowledging it. There must be something that we don't know, like they have to, because it's going to really happen, or they're going to be motherships outside, not cloaked, that we're going to see. Wouldn't that be exciting? How exciting. And then they
Yeah.
say, would you like to join us? Come up. I'd be like, yeah, let's go.
Let's stick with the dreams for a second. I
He's like,
I talked to this guy for my German podcast project, and he had this crazy but nice theory about. He told me that every time you have a dream, even if it's a daydream, sometimes we have daydreams. We stand there and stare a hole in the air. He said every time you have a dream or a daydream, you are where you're really from. You are in the reality. This is not a reality, he says. If you have a dream or a daydream, he said, do you remember if you have a daydream and you stand there for a minute and with your thoughts are somewhere else, can you remember what you've seen in that moment? Here? I said, no. I said, no, I don't know. I don't know what I've seen, or if somebody talks to me, I don't listen to it. He said, that's because you are in the real reality over there. What do you think?
I think that's possible. I think there's many realities. And you mentioned multiverse. There are possibly, I'm not discounting anything. You know, we're not really aware of everything that's going on. We've been like, we're in a bubble, and you know, we have all of these belief systems that were ingrained in us since we were children, over and over again, repetitively, you know, over and over. This is how it is. This is what we do. So, you know, when you think out of the box, you think, oh, that's so, is that possible? Absolutely. It's totally possible. I mean, what do we, maybe, you know, when they say that there's the astral realm when we go to sleep, and that is actually, people say, oh, they're fighting wars in the astral realm, or they're fighting evil, or whatever they're doing there. I had a series of dreams about 4 months ago, and every single dream I was in a very highly populated location, and there was all of these strangers walking around, and it was train stations, it was airports, it was hotels, it was foreign locations. And that just, it all seemed very vivid and very real, like I was transported into that location. So I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't know if, you know, our brains switch off and it's going to another, you know, real location. Maybe, and maybe a daydream is that.
Yeah.
It's a part of us for sure. I mean, that's how we do a lot of creating, is daydreaming. So it's a very freeing place when you're daydreaming. I was a big daydreamer when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a child, because we weren't really allowed to stay in that very starry-eyed thinking perception. We were said, this is what you've got to do. Come on, get into the classroom, sit there, don't think, here we go, memorize the stuff. It wasn't like, we should have been in a place where we were nurtured to express ourselves and just sit around and paint and draw and spend time in nature and have fun. We're supposed to be having fun.
Yeah, when I grew up, I had a few bad times with my parents.
Mhm.
And I also was a big daydreamer, and I had a lot of crazy dreams when I was asleep. I remember one dream, and I remember this dream a lot. I was flying through the sky like Superman. I was flying through the sky, and I felt I really could feel. And when I think about it, I still can feel the air on my skin and waving through my hair and ripples my clothes. And it was so realistic. This dream was so realistic. I tell you that I'm chasing this dream, even if I'm 42 now, and I still I miss this dream.
Not everything has to have this psychological explanation. It can actually be that maybe at some point you were flying through the sky. I've also had those. But I also know now that I think that that's, as more of us become awake, and this is my perception, this is my belief system, we are going to a place of light, and everyone's going to be awakened and thinking a different way. And there's another reality that we can live in. It doesn't have to be in this matrix. And I do believe at some point we are going to be levitating. We are going to be flying through the sky. We are going to have abilities that you can't imagine. I don't know if you've ever heard of ionic powers. There's psychic abilities, and then there's also ionic powers, and you see them in the movies like the Marvel, where they can fly through the sky. Maybe very well, Daniel, you came from a star family and you were flying through the sky on another planet.
Well,
And just remembering that your memory's coming back. You had amnesia. Welcome. You found the fifth dimension.
well, maybe.
Maybe.
He's a good-looking alien.
Yeah. To finish up this episode, maybe tell us where we can find you on the internet and where we can find your books.
Sure. You can find me. My website's down right now. It's going through some. I'm redoing it. So it's my website is maryamyofficial.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and it's under Mary Amy Official as well. And my books. Oh, and then my YouTube channel, Mary Amy. And I host Monday through Thursday around 7 p.m. And it's usually an hour and a half. And I talk about psychic phenomenon as well as truth-seeking topics, not conspiracy theories. And my books are on Amazon, Mary Amy. So I have the White Light Prophecies, which is a guide to light and enlightenment. And then I have my dream journal. And then I also have a children's book I wrote, Earthly and the Gemstones. And it's about little gemstones and the energy. They're, powerful, the energy from the earth. And he collects these gemstones.
Oh, interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So say Daniel's interested in writing children's books.
Yes.
Too.
Oh, really? Good for you.
I will send you a sample.
Sure. Send me a sample.
Yeah. So thank you. But besides that, the last words are yours. What is your message to all these people listening to this podcast?
My message is basically to tune into your heart. You are worthy being of light. You're sacred being of light. You're highly advanced. And remember, you have at least minimum, probably 100, but you have at least 3 authentic characteristics that make you genuine, and there's no one else like you. And if you're down, if you're not feeling great today, remind yourself of your 3 authentic characteristics. Maybe you have the most beautiful brown eyes. Maybe you're amazing at crossword puzzles. You might be the best friend ever. You have a light within you that you just have to crack open and fill yourself and beam it outwards.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's beautiful.